One, 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 two, one. Welcome back, everyone. It is indeed a very auspicious occasion. Mr. Sanders, Bernie, Mr. Free Butt Plugs and Weed is out. And I want to be the first person to reach out to all you former Bernie bros and say, you should ask for refunds. You should be asking for money back. You should be demanding every single cent back from this absolute hustler who took you for a ride, not one time, not two times, but three times. Okay, and let me explain why it's three times. First time, of course, was 2016, where he promised that he would fight corruption and the DNC. And then in 2018, he basically, in the run up to 2018, he just, caved and started supporting the entire Democratic Party, was basically Schumer's Siamese twin when it came to electioneering, right? Did they really help him with anything? No, not really. The man is just, he's an empty husk. He just takes his tour around the country, earns money, probably. By the way, if you read that book that I featured, I think a week and a half ago, not Profile. Yeah, Profiles in Corruption is actually a good one. So it talks a lot about all of the sweetheart deals that him and his wife made. And they included certain marketing contracts for his daughter to his campaign. So all of this money that you've been giving to this jackass, it's going to fund people who are either related to him, directly, or they're his stepchildren by his wife Jane, because both of them had children from previous relationships. So there's this Bernie is our hope hashtag that's gone it's gone viral. It says, I will forever be grateful to the Bernie Sanders campaign for creative such an impressive progressive platform. I guess this is a person who's been hampered by our deficient education system. I guess is that fair to say? Because it seems to me like they've just been complaining for years and years about how this country has the wrong priorities and everything, and yet now it is over. The country has rejected this clown. Now, I know some of you will be saying, some of you who are, I guess, more into being fair and even-handed, that it's not entirely Bernie Sanders' fault. The DNC colluded against him. They fixed the game. They let him twist in the wind when he should have been. Let me see if there's sound on this. Yeah, so this is what's so stupid about these people, that they worship this idiot. They give him every excuse for why he loses, claiming that he's winning the war of ideas. They're saying, hey, what about the fact that everybody supports Medicare for all? What about the fact that everyone wants student loan forgiveness, or that people are against intervention overseas, or against corporate bailouts? Bernie Sanders voted for, in the end, I believe, the corporate bailout that happened a couple of weeks ago. Bernie Sanders has consistently talked about an economy where you have the hand of the U.S. Treasury up the ass of most businesses. And this is the type of person who would probably turn this country into a third-rate regional power instead of being the economic engine that we are for the world. And in fact, some people are going to complain. They're going to say, wait, the fact is that because of Bernie dropping out, the healthcare stocks are jumping, which apparently they are. So what? So what they try to do is they try to say, well, this is just music to the ears of corporate America and CEOs and everything. Look, I don't think that the interests of everyday Americans are necessarily pegged to the Nasdaq or any of the other indexes, but it sure as hell is not a good sign if you have a person who he's running for president and he's trying to say, well, an entire sector of the economy is going to be completely eliminated because we're going to replace it with a state-run bureaucracy that would replace that service with something that is a one size fits all for the entire population. Okay, and by the way, so I haven't been talking a lot about the Wu flu. I am not trying to pretend that it's not happening, but the fact is that I think it's better for me to collect data, see what's going on, and actually a lot of my preconceived notions about what would happen have been coming true as far as where the sickness is getting more widespread and where it's being contained a little better. But it could be, look, I think it's using this crisis in order to own other people. It hasn't helped to tamp it down. We've all done it, but the fact is that when we have people who try to say, well, this is the proof. This is the proof that we need Medicare for all. This is the proof that the American economy can just be, eliminated with one fell swoop by the right crisis. Look at the way that the European Union has responded to it. This is the European Union and the Scandinavian countries, the Nordic countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. They're not doing well in this crisis. Obviously, I would say I've been looking at the statistics for Finland. They've been coping reasonably well. Sweden is actually experiencing a pretty devastating spike in the past day or so. I believe, Denmark's doing all they could, but it's not a matter of which insurance model is that's not what's going to save more lives, right? It's a matter of who can deliver the care and the technology to give the most cutting edge treatment most efficiently and most rapidly in order to save people's lives as soon as they are in need of health care. Right? So we're not talking about the financial aspect of it. In fact, in that respect, as far as the crisis goes, the U.S. in general has been not too impacted. Granted, there's some states like New York where it's especially difficult because of the widespread infection over there. But yes, not to digress too far, I only have about 25 more minutes because I do have a call. I have a call in 40 minutes and I need to prepare before that. But I am just so happy to see this piece of crap have to drop out and support another even more incompetent idiot who is probably going to ruin his legacy forever. The attachment of Bernie Sanders to Hillary Clinton, who was a pernicious liar, a disgusting human being, a corrupt example of everything that's wrong with being involved in what they call public service, which is really, it's being a Mandarin, it's being a manager for the real people who control our economy, who are lobbyists, corporations, foreign governments. That's who Bernie Sanders endorsed in 2016. And in 2020, he is going to be endorsing a person who is an even more decrepit, aged husk of a person, a more incompetent version of the same thing that he ended up endorsing in 2016, right? Because Hillary Clinton, you could make the argument that in terms of health, yes, she was a huge risk, but she wasn't some sort of person who every single sentence she said was like some sort of riddle of the Sphinx. I think that Bernie Sanders by endorsing Joe Biden is going to effectively wreck whatever semblance of a legacy he used to have. So I'll pull up, there's some videos I've been watching over the past week. And I know I haven't been doing live streams. It's not because of a lack of time, because I did lose my job during the current crisis. So it's not because I don't have the time. It is because I've been writing more, and it's also because I think that, doing a live stream every day, I know, obviously, you guys in the audience, I like you guys, but I don't think that doing a live stream or not doing a live stream is going to grow the channel. The channel is no longer the focus of what I do. So, excuse me if I haven't been so clued in. But Jimmy Dore has been, day by day, just going to town and attacking Bernie Sanders. So listen to this. This is hilarious.
How Trump dealt with the anointed one from the royalty of the Republican family. This is how Trump dealt with him.
Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq.
While Donald Trump was building a reality TV show, my brother was building a security apparatus to keep us safe, and I'm proud of what he did. And he's had the gall to go after my
World Trade
mother.
Center came
He's
down
had the
during
gall
your
to
brother's
go after
reign.
my
Remember
mother.
that.
He
didn't say it.
He gives no fucks.
And that's what I should have seen Bernie Sanders do to Joe Biden.
That's right. Hang on, here we go.
Let me finish this. He's had the gall to go after my mother.
That's not keeping
Look, I
us
won
safe.
the lottery when I
That's
was
not keeping
born
us safe.
63 years ago and looked up and I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
This
be
is
running.
not about my family.
My mom is the strongest woman here. She should be running. That's hilarious. That's how he dealt with the anointed fucking successor.
So would you say that he was an outsider when he was running?
Yes. You know why? Because he was an outsider. Why? Because he didn't live in fucking D.C. He didn't fucking know those people. He didn't give a shit about them. Here's how he also...
So yeah, this is really Jimmy Dore admitting to something that if he didn't know until now, he should have, which is that personality matters, leadership qualities matter, and Bernie Sanders does not have leadership qualities, okay? And he's been talking about this. This is just one clip. He's been talking about how Bernie had a huge problem with building coalitions, with creating real partnerships. And you can go through a lot of his videos. I think he did one with Max Blumenthal. It's somebody I despise. And the fact of the matter is that even if you're somebody who agrees with Bernie Sanders on all of those issues, you have to admit that his behavior and his moves, his strategy since he ran for president in 2016 show that he's an incompetent buffoon. He didn't deserve to win. He was completely inflating the hopes of the people that he was that were depending on him, essentially his donors and his small donors, I'm saying. And the people who volunteered for him, knocked on doors, the people who put up signs in their yards. Bernie Sanders essentially said to them every time, yeah, I'm going to run as much as I can. I'm gonna flap my lips. I'm gonna, flap his gums and run around the country, jet set, do all this. And then when the reality dawns and it becomes apparent that, first of all, the party itself does not agree with Bernie Sanders. They like to pretend that they agree, but they don't. Okay, he's kind of like the cousin who they let eat at the table, but if a guest is coming over, they have him, basically eat in his room or something, or they give him maybe a takeaway basket. That's who Bernie Sanders is. I'm sorry to say. Bernie Sanders is a major black sheep of the Democratic Party. And rather than turn around and moon them and say, fuck off, I'm going to, just either not endorse anyone or I'm going to support a candidate for a third party. Bernie Sanders has consistently shown that he's willing to bend over and take it, and he's bent over and taken it today. Okay? And this is something that Jimmy Dore, it's dawned on him in the past month. I'm sure that he thought about it before, but he's finally vocalized what he should have probably known ages ago, that Donald Trump is a man and Bernie Sanders is a worm. He's a worm.
People dealt with Ted Cruz.
You are all talk and no
Name one
action. What I've
specific thing you've
seen
done.
up here, I mean, first of all, this guy's a joke artist and this guy's a liar. You have a combination. You have a combination.
Oh, God.
Factors. He
This is-
can't. You are all talk and no
Name one
action. What I've
specific thing you've
seen
done.
up here, I mean, first of all, this guy's a joke artist and this guy's a liar. You have a combination.
guy always goes.
You have a combination of factors. He
This is
can't
so
do it for the
typical.
obvious reason, and he
But
can't do
here's
it
the
because
typical
he
thing he
doesn't know
does.
how to tell the truth.
He's beating the shit out of two guys at fucking once. He can't do it for obvious reasons, and he can't do it because he can't tell the truth.
I can't.
Bam, bam, fuck. He squashed both of them. A political novice fucking game show host who's wearing a raccoon on his head, and he still beat them. Here's how Bernie Sanders dealt with someone's corruption. Here's how Bernie Sanders dealt with someone's repeated lying about top secret material, about setting up a program that she was under an FBI investigation over it. And people we know are in jail for lots less. And here's how Bernie dealt with it.
Let me say something that may not be great politics, but I think the secretary is right. And that is that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Thank you. Me too.
Now here's what somebody would say who actually wanted to become president would say. Do we really think at a time like this, when we're going up against Donald Trump, that we should be nominating someone who's under FBI investigation again? Should we really do that? Someone who has a long litany of selling influence through the Clinton Foundation to foreign governments for arms sales? Someone who's given $600,000 speeches to Walt. This is the person you wanted to go up against corruption? That's what someone would say who wanted to be president. What someone who wanted to be friends with the people after the campaign would say is what the fuck he just said. Because he don't want to be Ralph Nader. He don't even return Ralph Nader's calls since 2000. He wants to be someone's friend. That's what a loser says, a feckless campaign.
You very much.
So after Super Tuesday, all people wanted to know, people who vote in the Democratic primary, all they wanted to know was, could a Democrat be a decent person and beat Donald Trump? Can they beat Donald Trump? Well, you already know, everybody knows, the only thing people know about Bernie's campaign is that Joe Biden is his good friend. They know that. And so when asked, so if someone asks you, hey, do you think Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump? What you're supposed to say, if you want to be president, is the truth. You don't even have to lie. You tell the truth, which is, hell no. That's why I'm running. We tried this experiment before. Tried to run a Wall Street puppet who was a warmonger. Joe voted for the Iraq war and every war before and since. Look what they did to Libya. They're trying to do it to Syria. We're still in Afghanistan.
So yeah, he keeps going, and obviously we're not going to replay an entire Jimmy Dore video But Jimmy's finally acknowledging the truth, and he has been for the past few weeks. Here's Bernie's own dropout video.
For joining me. I want to express to each of you my deep gratitude for helping to create an unprecedented grassroots political campaign that has had a profound impact in changing our nation. I want to thank the hundreds of thousands of volunteers who knocked on doors, millions of them, in the freezing winters of Iowa and New Hampshire, and in the heat of Nevada and in South Carolina, and in states throughout the country. I want to thank the 2 million Americans who have contributed financially to our campaign and showed the world that we can take on a corrupt campaign finance system and run a major presidential campaign without being dependent upon the wealthy and the powerful.
Yeah, you can run that campaign, Bernie, but can you win? Okay, can you answer that question? You can run that campaign that's not dependent on quote-unquote wealthy donors, but can you win? Nobody needs you to prove that you can run that campaign. Okay, if a campaign, this is like when they made that movie Moneyball about how Billy Beane made the Athletics into a winning team, but at the end of the day, the A's didn't win the World Series, right? So yes, it was an interesting concept. It worked for a while. It didn't win a World Series, and therefore it is a curiosity that only went so far. That's the same thing with the Bernie campaign.
Thank you for your 10 million contributions, averaging $18.50 a donation. I want to thank those who phone banked for our campaign and those of you who sent out millions of texts. And I want to thank the many hundreds of thousands of Americans who attended our rallies, town meetings, and house parties from New York to California. Some of these events had over 25,000 people, some had a few hundred, and some had a dozen, but all were important. And let me thank those who made these many events possible. I also want to thank our surrogates, too many to name. I can't imagine that any candidate has ever been blessed with a stronger and more dedicated group of people who have taken our message to every part of this country. And I want to thank all of those who made the music and the art an integral part of our campaign. I want to thank all of you who spoke to your friends and neighbors, posted on social media.
So bottom line, thank you. Thanks for the money. Thanks for wasting your time. Thanks for putting my stupid sign on your lawn. Now I'm going to endorse the loser, the guy who's already, Joe Biden. For Bernie Sanders to endorse him, it shows that qualification is just it's a very, very minor detail for the Democrats and Bernie Sanders, okay? Because he likes to show himself to be separate, but in reality, he's not really an independent anymore. He's not really some trailblazer or something that's different from the rest of the party. He's literally endorsing the pinnacle of Democratic Party, mediocrity, the go-along attitude, the type of person who is in it in order to support the organization and not to support the voters. Okay, that's who Joe Biden is, right? So Bernie Sanders, in his almost interminable good-naturedness, which is what I think he wants people to think, oh, I'm doing this because out of my appreciation for Joe Biden and my capacity to be gracious to him, I'm not going to do the right thing, which is to call out the Democratic Party for having a process that was blatantly fixed against other candidates, people like Marianne Williamson, people like Tulsi Gabbard, right? People like Andrew Yang even. Okay, and all those people who decided, oh, we're going to drop out and we're going to endorse someone else, including Marianne Williamson. Those people should be ashamed of themselves today that they allowed this jackass to basically hand the nomination to the person who might be one of the least qualified candidates for any office in the history of the country in the state that he is. Because Joe Biden, I would say, yes, in the past, I probably wouldn't have supported him anyway. I don't support gun control. I don't support any of the pro-abortion policies that he's in favor of. But beyond that, he's lost his mind. Okay, the guy is he's a shadow of himself, and Bernie Sanders is endorsing him and trying to make this this absurd statement that this is the right thing for anyone, whether it's a Democrat Party or whether it's the American public at large, or whether it's the progressive movement. If you're a Democrat, why would you, or I guess if you're a progressive, why would you go and support this absolute fraud again, and then try to pretend that you represent something that's different from what the media is telling you that is the priority, right? Why would you, if you're a person who is in support of subsidies to various industries, ones that have powerful lobbying interests, and you believe in price fixing and all sorts of bureaucracy and regulation, and the country becoming a nanny state, but one that doesn't have any input from the bottom to the top, that's who you're endorsing with Joe Biden. He would be the embodiment of everything that everyone on the right and the left sees as why politics is failing, why the center has failed to hold. So let's just read some more reactions. This was Trump. He actually wrote, "Bernie Sanders is out. Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. If not for her, Bernie would have won almost every state on Super Tuesday." Excuse me. This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted, same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. But the Bernie people should come to the Republican Party trade. So I don't think that. Now, I think the majority of Bernie supporters would not probably cross the lines, but there's going to be a lot, and there already have been ones that were, they're already, like, if you think about it, how many Bernie supporters, like very public Bernie supporters, have gone over to the Trump side, and the Democrats don't seem to notice, right? So you have people like Anomaly, if you remember him. This was so let me see if I can find. So this was a song that he composed back in 2015.
You ever wake up in the morning and feel like you could be the next president of the United States? And maybe you felt like me before. Bitch, I feel like Bernie Sanders. Let's go. Walk up in the club, I feel like I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. I don't give a fuck, I feel like I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. Presidential sluts, I feel like I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. Bitch, I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. Bitch, I'm Bernie.
All right, I'm not going to put you through the rest of that. I've never thought Anomaly's rap skills are especially good, but in case you haven't noticed, he's not really stuck to that. In fact, he's streaming now about Bernie Sanders as we're speaking. He went over, he became a Trumpster. I believe he became a Trump supporter after the 2016 election, but it wasn't a long transition. It was only over a few weeks. And it was mostly because of the Antifa reaction and the fact that a lot of people know that the type of personality that's attracted long-term to Bernie Sanders. You have some people who are pacifist and they want a non-interventionist foreign policy. They're sincerely for Medicare for all. Those people, obviously, I don't have any issue with. I've known a few. I have no problem with them. Huge difference in terms of economic beliefs. The person who turned people like Anomaly off are the people who they've been, they have these memes about guillotines and shit like that, right? So, there's plenty of these radical people around. Will I be able to find one right now? I don't know. It says, if you're gloating over Bernie dropping out, you're gloating over millions without healthcare during a pandemic. No, we're gloating because he's a loser, right? Him staying in the race wouldn't change that, because by the time the pandemic is over, there still won't be any Medicare for all because of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The fact of the matter is that Bernie is a fucking loser, and people can use polling numbers, they can use all sorts of surveys, they can use a lot of these, demonstrative projects from over in Europe, or they can talk about Corbyn, how he was going to save the NHS, which he, obviously he didn't get a chance to because he was also a loser. So these people love to make these excuses and say, well, you're being, you're gloating over millions without health care during a pandemic. Shut the fuck up. Okay, you lost. That's what we're gloating over. We're gloating over your incompetent loser who couldn't he couldn't grow a dick to save his life. And finally say to the Democratic Party, we're not part of this. I have this set of beliefs. I'm not going to subordinate it for you and your corrupt, cabal of idiots. Let me see here. So you have a lot of these idiots who are trying to get it back together. We can do without you. Whoopi Goldberg to Bernie Sanders supporters, January 14th. Well, now's your chance to prove it. Good luck, Bernie. So this person, I respect some of these people who say, well, I'm not going to vote. Screw this.
Solidarity, but I think she had hoped.
Listen, Bernie Bros, if you're out there, and keep your emails, because I don't care. But this is really about the content. This is not about being a bro or a girlfriend. It's not about any of that. If he is not the candidate, get your behinds in gear. Get your behinds in gear. And stop pretending that you're looking for him to actually do something that's meaningful for everybody in the nation. Either we're going to try to make this change together, whoever the person is, or we're not. And it'd be nice to do it with you, but we can do it without you. We don't want to, but you can't do what you did 4 years ago. It's just not right. Can I do the other thing?
In solidarity.
So I just want to remind people that this is Whoopi Goldberg. Supposedly, The View is supposed to be sort of a lifestyle and entertainment show, and this hag over here. Somebody I know. I have a friend who likes to make jokes about her sitting on the toilet eating Denny's egg sandwiches, which I've never understood the connection, but apparently she did used to do like Denny's commercials a very, very long time ago. So she's using her entertainment show in order to just spill her contempt for this group of voters. And I think the real lesson that we're learning from the last 2 presidential campaigns, if not longer, because I think this goes back further than that, is that entertainment and politics mixing was a mistake. You got a lot of people who got further than they needed to, and it was all based on just a perception issue. It was based on the perception that they did well or did poorly in an entertainment setting. That's how Bill Clinton got ahead too. He played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall, right? Everybody remembers that. Anomaly fell out of a Bill and Ted movie. I'm not like a huge fan of Anomaly, but he has some, like his video about like the moon landing video disappearing. I mean, that was a genius video. So, I'm not going to say I'm a fan. I'm not going to say I dislike him, but he is like a good, he's good at creating things that are memeable. So I respect him definitely. I don't like his rap skills, but I'm not a hip hop aficionado, so I don't really care. But yeah, Anomaly, if you have a memory that's not limited to like 5 minutes, Anomaly was a Bernie bro. He was a huge supporter of Bernie Sanders back in 2016. He came over to the Republican side. He's now what I would say is a staunch Trump supporter. He's not a blind Trump supporter. He's not the only one. I've had people on my show that are like that, like Lennon McCarthy. So, a lot of these people are blatantly, there's already a huge group of people who already crossed over either in 2016 or after 2016, right? Not everyone who was a Bernie supporter and has become a Trump supporter actually voted in 2016 for Trump. Some of them either voted for Hillary, didn't vote at all, voted for Jill Stein, may have voted for Gary Johnson, in fact, who everybody seems to forget. So yeah, this is this is basically the beginning of a different exodus. I don't know if it'll be as big because we don't know how we don't know how angry the people are compared to 2016. Remember that in 2016 there was a riot at the DNC in Philadelphia that they were taking a coffin and tossing it over the fence. I don't know if it'll be the same in Milwaukee. This whole social distancing thing is a little different, but anything's possible. This person says, I'm doing a giveaway in his honor. It's a Bernie 2020 bowl made to look a little like Bernie if you pretend his face is your weed. All you have to do to enter is, and it doesn't like, to look at this, I would think it's a different sort of instrument, if you know what I'm talking about. I think some of you ladies might know. So, y'all played my baby Bernie again for what? Biden don't got two brain cells to rub together, and now we got 4 more years of Trump. This is ridiculous. Fellow progressives / leftists. With Bernie dropping out, the electoral focus must turn to principled progressive congressional candidates. Please list your favorites here. I'll start with these two people. I'm not going to mention their names. One of them I think is just like his wife or something. So actually his wife is pretty. Actually, she's pretty hot. Pretty hot. So, good for Peter Dow. I guess he's saying, now that Bernie's dropped out, I want you to vote for my wife. So yeah, this is hilarious. Now I see hashtag never Biden, never Trump trending. Really, grow up. We will end up with Trump if that's the case. It doesn't make sense. So Bernie people are going to give us 4 more years of Trump. Fuck you. Patrick Henningsen says, so Bernie throws in the towel and gives way to a more youthful and vibrant Biden? Time to face the facts. The Democratic Party is a total joke. So somebody put an Ariana Grande thing. It says, Bernie, fuck Trump, fuck Joe Biden. Bernie, you are the rightful president. The fact that you're using Ariana Grande as an expression of who you think is you judge to be the rightful president shows that maybe you shouldn't be voting. Maybe you should be one of those people that stays home. Okay? A little tribute to Bernie Sanders. We'll listen to this and then we'll go back to some real music. I think I might get copyrighted for this. Peter Dow won't shut up. He says, thank you, Bernie. I opposed you in 2016. I didn't see what you and your supporters saw at the time, but I looked in my heart and made a change. The only way forward to address the injustices around us is to keep building the hashtag not me, us movement. I vow to do my part, hashtag Bernie. Bernie Sanders movement after today is I believe the movement is going to completely fall apart and factionalize because let me explain this. before 2016, they needed a leader, and he was him. But he was already very, very old, and he was, he was a unifier, but not all leaders can be unifiers, and not all leaders have clear successors. So once Bernie Sanders is gone, and by the way, there will be no Bernie 2024, because after this is merely an issue of raising money. Okay, I don't want anybody else to be confused by what I'm saying. When you have people donate not once but twice they donated tons of money to a failed campaign. Do you think they're going to invest in a third try? You're going to have consistently more. It's the law of diminishing returns, right? So yeah, I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to. The movement is over, and they're going to probably splinter into different ones. Khalid Beydoun says no presidential candidate ever cared about Muslims in the U.S. as much as Bernie Sanders. He campaigned heavily in Muslim communities, elevated Muslims into leadership positions, tackled Islamophobia, and rejected the war on terror. Muslims will always remember and love #Bernie. Well, Khalid, I'm sorry to tell you, but you don't win the presidential election by campaigning in Muslim. There's no majority Muslim state in the country. If he would have been, let's suppose that he would have been like Mitt Romney and campaigned on a heavily, Mormon-friendly agenda, or he would have been, I represent lots of Mormons, then he would have won Utah. And I think he did win Utah in the primary, right? Like there's certain constituencies where you can cater directly to them. Evangelical Christians, you can win several states, and I think that's one of the reasons that Carter won in '76. He had a message that was very, very, very resonant among evangelical Christians. As a Democrat, by the way, if you look at someone like Bernie Sanders campaigning in the Muslim community, what state do you get if you campaign heavily among Muslims? The only state I think that has a massive Muslim population that's got significant political clout would be probably Michigan, maybe Minnesota. I think Florida and Texas have some pockets, but generally, why does it matter? So Peter Dow apparently went nuts. He polled people, and they said, stay in the race. So yeah, this is ridiculous. Elizabeth Voss, who's essentially the same idea as, I think I have to go. I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy.
Heavy, so heavy, I can't lift it. He wanted to tease an elderly gentleman standing there. And then he pulled out a bottle of champagne.
Well, that's embarrassing. So I knocked my glasses off. I answered a phone call that was the wrong number, and I actually played something that was the wrong track. So sorry about that. I think I played some sort of documentary about the czars. So now, without further ado, this is the end. So have a great weekend. I will probably not be in touch until sometime next week, if at all. But yeah, enjoy your Passover or Easter, whichever one or nothing if you're not supporting anything, if you're not celebrating anything. And, I'm happy. I think that this guy is a charlatan, and we don't need to lose any sleep over him. I mean, I'm not losing sleep. I'm actually doing cartwheels because this loser dropped out. See you guys later, and enjoy the music again.